Mayor Eric Garcia,
Present.
Counselor Beverly Michael,
Present.
Counselor Federal Darte,
Absent.
absent. Counselor George Garcia,
Present.
Counselor Zachary Gutierrez.
Absent. Okay, would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I will motion we approve the agenda.
I second.
Thank you. Roll call. Counselor Garcia? Do we do roll call?
Yes, sir.
We just-
Oh, no, but after the motion? You don't have to, right? No. No? Okay, sorry. All right, so let's get to discussion of charter compliance and public comment. Is anybody out there want to talk about charter compliance, public comment? Thank you. All right, discussion items. We're going to go to number 2. We cool?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few things before we start. This meeting is, the primary focus of this meeting is educational, informational. These are organizations of which the city supports outside of lodger's tax. They're organizational type requests. The only one that's on contract for FY23 is the Cibola Arts Council. So they're actually going to be included in the budget for FY23 because the contract goes through FY23. The other 4, Rockin' 66 Transit, Grants Main Street, the New Mexico Council of Governments, and Economic Development, those are organizations of which are not on contract for FY23, so we want to learn more about who they are, what they do, per the funding of which they receive, and in the interim budget of which you guys will approve on Thursday, those 4 organizations, the amount of their request will not be included in the interim budget. However, in the final budget, which will go before you guys in June, at the June regular meeting or a special meeting, in the final budget, we'll include the amounts of which they are requesting with your guys' approval. So there'll be an item in the June agenda of each organization, and it'll be up to you guys to award whatever amount for FY23. In the final budget, those amounts will be included. Okay, so for today, there's no action. It's basically just informational for us to learn more. We have 2 new counselors, a new mayor, but has been on council for 2 years, a new city manager. So I'm just trying to learn our relationship with these organizations. I'm just as curious as much as you guys are, to be honest with you. So anyway, I just wanted to lay all that out in the line prior to hearing the presentation.
Those are included, though, in lodger's tax, all of these organizations?
Several of them are like, such as Grants Main Street. Grants Main Street has, in years past, they've had an organization contract with the city that's not lodger tax related. However, the same organization could go before lodger's tax and make a request for some funding if they're having an event. So these ones are just organizational. However, they do qualify for lodger's tax too if they so choose. But all we're focused on today is the regular organization funding of which the city contributes to them. So there's lodger's tax funding if you have an event. Main Street, when we used to have the bike rally, we used to ask lodger's tax for a certain amount specific to the bike rally. However, Main Street still had this contract with the city that was totaled separate from lodger's tax, but yet Main Street received funding as an organization, not as an event organizer. So Main Street would receive funding from the city, organizational funding, contract related, and also for an event. So there's 2 ways. Some of them just have organizational funding, such as economic development. They don't host an event, yet there's a contract that they've had year to year for some funding.
I have a question. How does an entity become one of these community organizations that could request funding? I, during campaigning, met with the ladies from the food pantry, and we were discussing the changes and the need and how drastic things changed during COVID.
Yeah.
and that the city doesn't give funding to that entity? Is there a way they could get?
Yes, they simply make an
this.
official request, and at a meeting like this, while we're working on budget, then those items would be considered definitely, without prejudice, of course.
Is there time for them to make a request still?
For this year?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
they would have to do it pretty quick, and then I could include those items in the final budget with your guys' approval.
Thank you, Donald.
Sure. Does that make sense? You guys,
Yes,
sir.
Okay. So the first one on the agenda is Rockin' 66. I don't know, are they available?
Rockin' 66, nope.
No?
Okay, going once, going twice. Thank you. All right, we'll go to discussion item number 3, presentation, request for funds, Grants Main Street. That's all right. Best helper to have.
And I made some printouts for you guys of the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
For you. One for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
I saw.
Up there, okay. Certainly. My name is William Yarborough. I am the interim director for Grants Main Street Project. I have worked with Main Street for probably over 4 years. Was initially their interim director in 2019, went on to the executive director position. After leaving as a director, I became a board member because I was passionate about the work, loved what they do, loved the idea about what Main Street is about. And ultimately, as you go through, I think that's probably a good segue into our first part of the presentation, our mission and vision. Excuse me, sorry. Our mission and vision is something that I feel passionate about. It's essentially, put it into a Cliff Notes, we want to make downtown Grants, the Santa Fe Avenue, into the hub for the county, for this area of the state, northwest New Mexico, or at least on I-40. I'm not sure we could do it for Farmington. But you'll see our mission and vision statement are there on our proposal. There are things that's a vision that we've kept for probably over 10 years now. I can say that the folks who did the Fire and Ice bike rally and things like that had put together this vision and the mission statement, and it has kept this whole time with our board, with myself, with the work that we do to try and make grants to make Santa Fe Avenue, the Main Street District, the center hub. We do that through events. We do it through beautification projects. We have a couple. I have 2 examples. The little tabs 2 and 3 are examples of project implementation plans of how we would go out, exactly what the project entails, how much it will cost, what things we will need. And I'm trying to gather myself. For the most part, those 2 projects are examples of projects that I plan to do this upcoming year for 2022-2023. They encompass our philosophy, which is known as the 4-point approach. We do our work through 4 points: organization, design, economic vitality, and promotion. Organization involves what we do with our organization to stay afloat, the monies we raise, the volunteers that we recruit, the board members that we have on our board. Promotions involves ad campaigns for businesses for the district as a whole, as well as events like the Fire and Ice was a promotional event to bring people into grants, to show them the beauty that we have. Design is exactly what you would think. It involves beautifying, placemaking, helping the looks of the district itself. The Fire and Ice maintenance project is an example of that. I'd like to try to repaint it, make it look better, especially before the Rugged Wild West event for the chamber. That way it's presentable for that. And excuse me, I missed the Holiday Light Parade is also a plan that I have there finally planned out. Just needs approval from the board, but is a promotional event that brings people into the town. And then economic vitality is our 4th point, which involves networking, involves helping small business, supporting them through education, through funding opportunities, if we're seeing federal grants put out, for instance, there was one for 1912 for small food organizations that give out food like groceries that are small, owned by or a small business. Excuse me. And that's the kind of thing that we would come into play and say, hey, there's this funding available for you. You should look into it. Do you need any help? Can we help you sign up for it? Do you have an account? Asking them the questions and giving them the answers that they would need to make more developments and that sort of thing. One project we have through Economic Vitality right now is our incubator project that we're currently trying to solidify funds for. It's a project that we've had in our minds for a couple of years now, and we're seeing some interest from the county. They have approached us for it, and so we'd like to try and make that a thing that will help grow entrepreneurship, grow businesses here, more new businesses. It would take them from an idea, curate them into a full-fledged business. We'd be there to help them along the process. And so that's kind of what I got for the most part. I didn't have much planned for the proposal other than to show you these things are our plans for the future, what we've done this year, and the key actions on the proposal, and kind of what we're about, what we're doing, and a little bit of what I am, and here to answer any questions you might have for me.
Mayor, Council, the history here in regard to funding, I believe the last 2 years, correct me if I'm wrong, William, the last 2 years there was no funding as far as organizational funding. For some reason, a couple years ago, it was taken away, but prior to that, they were receiving $35,000 annually based on a service agreement contract.
Right, that's more or less correct. I think my knowledge is last year was the only year we didn't have the contract, but I could be wrong. I think it might be 2.
I think with COVID, we've all missed a year.
2021 is gone in my mind.
So who provided the funding to keep it going? Because it was just dormant. I wondered because I didn't hear anything happening through Main Street.
So, what happened last year when the funding was not available from the city is the county agreed to provide $25,000, and so did Economic Development Department, and that money was specifically to hire and train an executive director, nothing else, so we could have someone on board. The other projects that we did, for example, the Light Parade, the Light Up Cibola, the Veterans Day event, we went out and got sponsorship to be able to provide those events to the community.
Are you guys going to do the Memorial Day? You guys had something last year, right? In the park where you had to walk?
We participated with the host and the city as well. We volunteer time basically is what we.
Yeah, most times for the Field of Cross event and things like that, we'll volunteer and put our manpower to help put the crosses out, but it's usually coordinated by the Legion.
I did also want to say that in addition to the funding, part of the funding that we get from you all enables you to get capital outlay from New Mexico Main Street, and so those are great blocks, projects, trails, that kind of thing. Whatever the city would like to propose through their projects manager or whatever's in the master planning. So we would work closely with Donald, and I believe it's Shannon now at the city, to try to do some of those great block projects that the city had requested in the past.
You're talking block projects? What's that?
So a great block project takes a 3-block area and totally redesigns it, redevelops it, helps to, if it's anything from the street to the sidewalk to the facade, helps to beautify that area. So usually places that are in large need, I'm not sure. I think one was submitted, the Great Blocks Project. I saw the application from Laura, and it was for this thoroughfare right here, Santa Fe.
And that was two years ago, right?
Yes.
That we applied, and of course we didn't get the funding.
Yes.
However, that's an annual. Brandon, I believe, is pretty knowledgeable with that grant. It's an annual grant.
It's an
right?
annual grant.
Yeah.
We did apply for Santa Fe Avenue for a redesign, make it more pedestrian friendly.
Are we going to be able to go back out for that again in this year's budget, or how's that working?
We should, pending approval from and in support from everyone else. Yes, sir.
Right, so you're talking that you might get how much money? And you're talking about this funding that you get from the city, so you can match that? What are you saying?
It's not necessarily so in order to be able to apply for the Great Blocks grant, there needs to be a accredited Main Street organization. Part of that is having a full-time executive director who is fully trained through New Mexico Main Street. And then once that is satisfied, then New Mexico Main Street looks at applications for Great Blocks projects, and they pair it with capital outlay often, and sometimes there's monies available as well. But when you look at the ROI of the $30,000 a year, and then for the project that's $500,000 or more, that's kind of the payoff in relation to that.
Yeah, I was going to add to this, Mayor, and William and Brandon, feel free to come in any time, but correct me if I'm wrong. But a lot of the municipalities in the state, a lot of times the towns pay basically an amount that is enough for a executive director, and in return, the municipality is eligible for grant. There are several grant opportunities, but it's contingent on them having an executive director, of which the city basically funds.
So you're the interim right now?
Yes, sir.
What's your staff look like right now?
It's me right now. I do all the
So
work. I'm the sole
just you?
employee with the help of the board. The board is also my unpaid employees.
How big is the board?
The board is currently 4 with with 1 on the way. Someone is interested. I don't know. I don't want to
He's
say.
actually applied.
He's applied, but he hasn't been accepted yet.
Who are your board members?
So Joanne is our president. Josephine Hurtado is our treasurer. Roger Sigmund is a board member, and then Maria Monteguian is she's a teacher at Milan Elementary, and our teacher. She's also a board member.
Who's the last one?
Her name's Maria Monteguian.
Patrick Klingman from NMXU is coming on.
Patrick Klingman has submitted an application, and we're in route to approve.
So is there other volunteers besides, or that's what you're working with now?
We always try to recruit volunteers, and you all have helped on several occasions. Like most of the people in this room, I think.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have a
right.
volunteer back there. I have a future volunteer right there. We just asked.
And our kids.
Yeah,
You know
ask
how it
folks
is.
around the community.
What is the amount requested?
It's $30,000.
Okay. And I have something I really liked seeing here and would like to speak a little more to it, the fire and ice stage maintenance.
Yes, ma'am.
Way overdue.
Yes.
So I'm concerned we're having a Labor Day event and hoping that, and by looking at this, that you're targeting to have that done before this event.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm also concerned because looking at the other, I don't know what to call them other than gazebo type
The
structures.
pavilions.
The pavilions, thank you. The one to the west looks like it's gonna cave in. Is there any other opportunities or ways that we're gonna be able to repair those
Certainly.
before the event?
Our work generally is to in our events, our promotional events are supposed to be an income generation, a mode of generation of income, so that way we can put those towards fundraising projects. That's a project in itself. Every single building on Main Street is a project that needs help, that needs love. I can think of second time arounds, Adobe paint falling off. That needs to be fixed. Not just from a small business standpoint, but from a city standpoint of wanting it to look good.
Well, and to not collapse on people.
Yeah, it would be a viable place for someone else in the future. Exactly.
Yeah, and to have it for Labor, that's a big event weekend. I'm sure we'd have even volunteers who'd be happy to help hammer and paint and
Right,
anything
yeah,
to
we
assist.
would definitely need help, and then we'd have to get some grants because it could cost more than we would be able to afford right now. And also, another comment that I've had from the community quite a bit is that when there are events in the park that's really hot, there aren't enough shade trees for the community, so that's something we probably want to look at in the near future as well. Get those trees.
What we got planning on is we got some money from the junior funds from our Senator Josh Sanchez, and I think it was around $300,000 or something. So, what I'm proposed to the council that we do with this money first is to redesign and get something on with the engineers to redesign our fire and ice park, because all the pavilions need to get redone, down through getting the Royal cleaned up, our parks, the playground equipment more updated. I mean, they're 25, 30 years old. Basically, we just get a design for this because now we can see what it costs. Once we know what it costs, then we can start tackling at it.
Certainly.
So what some of that money, so eventually, hopefully, we go and we look for a design for a splash pad somewhere in the vicinity because we want to start to carry and get some people off of I-40, tourists. So my theory is if you can use your east side for your big franchises, most people when they're traveling, if they have a beautiful main street, that's how you're hooking them. So when you hook them with that, that's where your mom and pop shots come in, tourism here and there. So Main Street is very important. So I'm with you guys. It's a struggle, I know.
What does Main Street include? Is it all of Santa Fe?
I think that's a great question. Our district runs from Wayne Street to Anderman, and it goes up First and Second Street up till the San Jose Trail, Legacy Trail. So what would encompass it is the Grants Flea Market on First and T-Bone's Surf Shack, as east till it's not Check and Go, it's a Lone Place there on the far side next to Patricio's. It does not encompass AutoZone, unfortunately.
KFC.
And then we go to the west, unfortunately not to KFC, basically to where Reruns is, or where the Phillips 66 is.
Okay.
It does not actually, and it's actually since, I think, 2 or 3 years ago was moved to coincide with the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Plan District, which I don't know if you're all familiar with it. I know I've talked to you about it. But,
What would be your dream?
what would be my dream, my vision? My dream is a walkable Santa Fe Avenue where I can go and get a drink in town and then drive just around the corner back to my house where I rent.
Not risk crossing the street, right, which is.
Yeah, not having to go to SR through a checkpoint or all those kind of things. But not just that. I mean, that's the nightlife, I guess. But I think more broadly, it would be the icon or the cliche saying of live, eat, and work, or live, play, and work in Main Street. Having, I can see there's a few apartments on High Street where Mount Taylor Coffee used to be. West of it, there's those string there, things like that. Interest me and want to see things like that on Main Street. 1912 is a really great addition for live, work, play because it's a grocery store right in the center downtown. Things like that really excite me. That's kind of what I'd like to see.
Charlie's Radiator. Is that part of Main Street?
It's not.
It's not.
But it is something that we've looked at before. And granted, in our bylaws, we have that we can work outside of our district at the board's discretion. We would try not to because it would look like favoritism.
Yeah.
And, we have constituents to work for. We have a whole district to work for. But, when it comes to, like I'd like to do a golf tournament for a fundraiser, not in the district, but, can't do a golf tournament in the district. So things like that. And then there are things that are needed. So outside the district.
Yeah.
I think of Gallup and the curio shops, jewelers, things like that. People traveling through New Mexico is one of the big things they want to come here for. So promoting those types of businesses also along our main. I think also, I know I'm encountering going out to dinner, trying to go out to dinner on a Saturday night and encountering restaurants closed and such. And, is there any chance of draw for national chains for things like that to come into grants? And
that conversation.
We need to have that conversation
with our Cibola Communities Economic Development Director, but it's kind of a revolving door of what comes first. What do you need to work on first? Because you get a chain, they want to see population.
Yeah.
Population doesn't want to stay here if there's nothing here, and no one has jobs because there's nothing that pays well, and there's nothing that pays here because there's not any people that are worth paying that much. And so it's a revolving door. Where do you start? And it is possible, I think. We just have to find the right one that was wanting to branch out in this area. I think it would be better to do something local I think the incubator is something to work towards building new businesses, especially like curio, jewelry shops. We'd like to try and lean on crafters for the people to be those that come into the incubator to teach them how to get their business, not just at shows, but then online and how do you advertise more, tell them that you're going to be in the Fire and Ice Park and sell your things downtown Albuquerque.
One thing I've been talking to the chamber about is changing the name of Santa Fe Avenue to Route 66.
Interesting.
Do you think that would help?
I think it would help in marketing, certainly. And and then there would be a lot more signage, I think. I think just signage in general, though, I don't know if you have to change, because most times people want to take a picture rather than tell people they are on Route 66.
Right.
They'll tell them they're on Route 66, but the proof in the pudding is in the picture, and so signage, that's a promotion thing. That's something that we should be doing, raising funds for to help the city put up signs, and then as well stuff like, what's it called? There's a certain word. I'll think of it later. And
So one of the things that I talked to Eric about before he was mayor and was a councilman was that I wanted us to take advantage of one of the great resources that we don't in this community, which is our pueblos, right, folks? Because what attracts people to Santa Fe is the vendors under the portal, that kind of thing, and I think it not only for our local people, but for the people that come to visit the area for Chocolate Canyon, for the trails that we have, the things that we're able to offer the community. And one of those resources are artisans, right? That we have so many people producing such. I myself tried to buy a pot from a local person who I just happen to know sells pottery. I have the hardest time just trying to connect with her for her to pay me. And so it's been like a roadblock for a lot of people who don't know how to use, their iPad to take, their iPhone to take payments, that kind of thing. And so I think it's really important that we establish that kind of entrepreneur in grants so that we can attract people. They want to see those. They want to see those wares made by our native people, by our artisans.
I think it's important, and I think it's important that we use, instead of the language of taking advantage of, that we use the language of collaboration and collaborating with the pueblos and the tribes to try to close this gap that there seems to be that exists between us, that could assist us in having some of that in our community. Like you said, lots of the people who do live here are also artisans that could see them under these pavilions, right, on a weekend, and
Here, we should use them.
if they deserve the opportunity to share what they make and the opportunity to make a profit from it. So, thank you.
Just want to make you guys aware, we did set aside some funds for the canopies, Fire and Ice Park,
Okay.
In our own budget. Not for the entire amount, but perfect collaboration. You just use the term, and that's how it should be. I know
Certainly.
Main Street does private and then government. So just to let you guys know, we did set aside a
Yeah.
certain amount of funds for this project.
Thank you for letting me know. To kind of carry off what you were saying about your plans for the future, that's kind of the stuff I'd like to know. I'm ambitious enough to not want to do my own things, but to have things done. If there's a plan and set in motion, I'll work towards making that plan move forward. I just want to know that it's going to work and it's a viable plan, something that I think is going to actually work. But for that instance, just saying that, if there's already concept designs in our office of a fire and ice park, of different pavilions, crossways through, stuff like that, I'd like to share with you and get involved in that.
Yeah, we really didn't have any major plans at this point. We just knew it needed to be secured more than what it is, number one, and it needs a facelift. I mean, either paint or, I don't know why they painted it. I would have stained it.
Yeah.
With some water sealant, but I mean, it is what it is. It needs to be painted now. But I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of funding, but some, because obviously it's catching people's attention, the shape that the canopies are in. So.
And are you putting aside some money on this next physical budget to get the sign relit up and market the face in the front and the back of the
neon
60?
sign?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that thing is attracts everybody, and it needs to look a little bit better.
Well, thank you all for your time.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if there's any other questions, but you're welcome. My contact information is on the proposal. My cell phone is the 817 area code. You can call me with any questions. And again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What you guys do.
I have my information on your phones, I think, so.
Thank you. Alrighty. Thank you. And we will go to request for fundings, NWNM Council of Governments. Mr. Brandon.
Thank you.
Nice.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you. My name is Brandon Howe. I'm a planner at the Northwest New Mexico Council of Governments. We are located in Gallup, New Mexico, but we do work here in Cibola County, the city of Grants, and the village of Milan. I really wanted to provide you a brief overview of our organization as a whole, being that we have some new counselors on board. We wanted to give you a quick snapshot of who we are as an organization, what we do, and then talk a little bit about our direct services for the city of Grants. So the Northwest New Mexico Council of Governments is a regional planning organization. Our region encompasses 3 counties of San Juan, McKinley, and Cibola County. A quick snapshot of our region, if you go to slide 3. We have 10 local governments. We have the community of Kirtland is our newest local government. 5 tribal governments, including Raymond Navajo. There's 15,000 square miles in our region, and then there's approximately over 220,000 people in our region. So again, we are a mostly rural population with a general density of 11 persons per square mile. Go to the next slide. It'll briefly provide you a quick overview of how our organization is structured. So we are a dual designated quasi-governmental regional planning organization. So we provide planning services through the state of New Mexico. We are designated by the Department of Finance and Administration and Local Government Division. We do have contracts with them as well. On the federal side, we're also designated as a economic development district for the state of New Mexico. We do get those state and federal contracts that come down to help supply us funds for our services. As you can see, the membership and the members are really our local governments. So we have San Juan County, McKinley County, Cibola County, Aztec, Bloomfield, Farmington, Gallup, Grants, Milan, and then we have affiliate members such as the Northwest New Mexico Regional Solid Waste Authority. We provide services contractually for all these entities here, and then we have our board of directors, and so I believe the city has 2 representatives on our board right now. They oversee our executive director, Evan Williams, who will be attending your council meeting on Thursday. So he'll be present for that, so you'll get a chance to meet him. And then he oversees kind of 4 different areas of our organization. So the first is our planning and program development, which is where I kind of sit. We have our administration and then our finance and HR services. And then also he oversees kind of our contract work with consultants and contractors for some of our larger projects. Go to the next page. It'll give you a brief overview of who's on our team. As I mentioned before, Evan Williams is our executive director. He's been with the COG for 18 years. We have a planner in Angelina Gray who is really starting to cultivate a water and environmental focus. Michael Sage is our economic development program manager and also our revolving loan fund program manager. Mr. Robert Kuipers is our transportation planner. Martin Whitmore is our administrative assistant. There's myself, Brandon Helm, the planning team leader. And then Carrie House, who's kind of overseeing our data and outdoor recreation and trails planning work. So our next slide is our new work program that got approved at our last board meeting here in Grants. Basically focused on 2 categories, our mission support and our core mission support. And it includes everything that we do in our office. So going down from project development, planning, to brownfields work, to regional, larger 4 corners initiatives, marketing and branding. Everything that encompasses an activity at the COG is kind of written in this annual work plan here. So you guys can take some time to look at that. It really is broken down into 5 main kind of sub areas. So the regional leadership and partnership, operational innovation, all-level planning, implementation and integration, project tiering and strategic infrastructure, and then our Center for Regional Innovation. So there's a lot of things that are kind of covered in that annual work plan and work program, and services that the city receives on behalf of our organization are fit into one of these. So really getting down to our annual request, we've had a long-standing contract and partnership and collaboration with the City of Grants. This is our structure for our membership dues and service policy. There's really 4 levels, class 1 through 4, and it's based on the membership amount that is received or paid by the member government. And so right now the City of Grants is at class 2. I believe it's $37,500 is what you're paying now. As you, Mr. Mayor and Donald, are aware, we did approve the 2.5% annual increase at our last board meeting. So that would take the membership up to $38,437. And so that's the proposed request.
So for $1,500, we could go up to a class 3?
Yes, and I forgot to explain that to you on Friday, Donald. Once you get into the class 3, you get an additional member on the board, and so that might be something the city would be interested in. I know you had expressed the desire to increase the membership amount, but really an extra $2,000, $40,000 will get you an additional board member, and allow you some more say on how the government is operating.
Plus, we'll get more level hours of service, right?
Yes, sir.
You're currently on the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's the other board member?
Donald.
Okay.
So that's where the city is at now. That's the proposed request. Of course, you guys can go back and discuss what you guys would like and reach out to our executive director, Evan Williams, and finalize that. So as part of your work plan, so once we have a contract and an agreed upon amount set forth, what we do with all our member governments, and we kind of worked on this on Friday with Donald, is we produce our work program for the 2 years. So we do a 2-year work plan because a lot of our programs and projects and initiatives are kind of multi-month, multi-year projects, and so they carry over into the next fiscal year. And so we don't want to have to do this every year. So we put it out and we lay it out for 2 years. And so we break it down into 4 main categories. The first is kind of general services. And so that includes general manager consultations, fiscal agency services for the city if needed, and then ICIP and project hearings. So taking all your projects, trying to figure out how to implement them, get funding, take them from the idea stage all the way to completion. The next kind of set of projects are our planning projects. So we have comprehensive plan. City is kind of due for a comprehensive plan pretty soon. So we'll be looking at securing funding, possibly sitting on the steering committee and helping you through the process to update the plan. The same goes for the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Plan, as William mentioned, for the downtown district. That's a critical plan that will help you implement those projects and allow you for some flexibility in terms of funding and collaboration in public and private partnerships in that area. The next is something that we kind of thought of that we recently were notified of some state funding that we're pretty confident that we'll be able to secure, and that's to help develop a transportation safety plan for both the City of Grants and the Village of Milan as a kind of an urban core of Cibola County. And so what we're doing is we're working with the city and the village to apply for DOT funding to start doing that planning work, highlight some large-scale safety projects in terms of transportation, and then hopefully get us primed and ready for some of the federal funding. The one in specific is the Safe Streets for All that's coming down through the bipartisan infrastructure law bill. We're working on hopefully securing that fund so we can plan, highlight some hot spots in the City of Grants, the Village of Milan, and then secure those large funds. The next is one of the major plans that we've collaborative plan. It's with the City of Grants, the Village of Milan, and Cibola County. It's the Regional Drainage Master Plan. That plan is 10 years old now, but it's still being used every day. The city's been, probably the entity who has benefited the most from that. securing millions of dollars, utilizing that plan as a source of readiness and project identification, secure drainage and flood dollars, and working on those projects. So that's a big piece there that we're working on, hoping to get funded and get going pretty soon. So the next category of projects is our projecteering. So as Donald is aware, our Council of Governments, we do help with legislative services. Every year we put together the Cibola Area Legislative Forum. So we bring all the governments together. Tribal entities are allowed to participate, special districts. And then we bring all the legislators together in one meeting to have you guys present your priority projects, your legislative priorities, to legislators prior to the upcoming legislative session. And so it really is kind of an infrastructure-oriented forum. But there's also the opportunity to talk about other legislative priorities.
On this slide, could you maybe get it to us page by page, even through an email, so I can read it?
So what we did, we do have a draft work plan, and I can have, I'll scan it and send it over to Donald, and Donald can share it with you all, so you guys can see what is actually there.
I think his email was actually forwarded to your city email.
It was still this size.
Oh, okay. Oh, you want it? Okay, I got you.
It's 3 pages put on one page, and it's not.
Gotcha.
I can't read it.
So yeah, the next piece is our federal piece. So much like our legislative assistance with all the bipartisan infrastructure law funding that's coming down, what we're wanting to do is set up a meeting with the project team, which is Donald and Shannon, and the engineers that you guys consult with. Really put all your projects down on a sheet. We've got most of them already down. We just want to play matchmaking with those federal programs. See if it's eligible, see if it meets the requirements, see if it's competitive, and then go about it that way. So we're taking a look at that federal piece. That'll be a large activity for the next 3 to 4 years, as those programs are out for 5 years. So this is we are kind of the city's kind of CDBG partner in terms of applying. We did secure a grant application, I believe, a year ago for Washington Avenue, Washington and Jefferson Avenue, right in front of the community center. We secured $750,000 for that project. We're working on implementation now, but that's an annual program. So as soon as we wrap that one up, the city wishes we could go back and apply for something else. There are requirements to it. Pretty large process and complex grant program, but we do have the capacity to assist the city with that. The next two are some general programs. So we do have the Economic Development Administration Program, grant programs. And so Michael Sage and our executive director, Evan Williams, kind of handle the economic development pieces of our work plan. But we do assist local entities with applications for infrastructure projects. Some of the projects that we identified are the multipurpose arena project, the airport project, biopark, Cibola Business Park, Sacaleras Boulevard, and Main Street redevelopment. So wherever it fits, our organization can help you secure those economic development administration funding. Federal. And our transportation program, so there's a slew of transportation funding at the state level that the city has participated in the past. We recently just got an award of $1 million last week for the Second Street Shared Loop path, so that goes around the high school and ties into the current multi-use path along Second Street, so that'll be a really nice project moving forward. So that's kind of an overall of what is included in our work plan. Again, I'll share this document with you in a review. So the next slide is our work program reporting. So one of the things that we've been doing at our office is working to be much more transparent. So what we've done is we've taken our agreed upon work plan in paper form and we moved it into an electronic form using a software tool. And we have all our projects. We can break it down step by step. We can go over this quarterly or monthly, however the manager would like to do it. We would review this with him, update him on the status of each project, and move it forward that way. Again, with our attempt to become more transparent, we also want to report on our hours. Sometimes our hours are high, sometimes our hours are low. Sometimes we also have additional pots of funding that we would prefer to spend down as opposed to the local government membership. And so what we're doing as well is just making sure that we're reporting and being honest with our hours as we're moving forward. And so this is kind of the hours today. We track it by month. We have a reporting software, hours software that we can present to the manager at our quarterly meetings.
And are these totals the City of Grant's hours?
And we also do reporting. So the next slide is kind of our annual report or our 9-month report. We can produce these, once a year, 6-month mark. However, the city wants us to report, but we report on the activities that we've done over the past fiscal year. And so we just submitted this to Donald and the mayor during our last board meeting, and that was for 9 months. So we wanted to provide an update of what we've done today for the 9 months and moving forward. So we produced those. We want to make sure that we're reporting to you. And they're also nice pieces to present to the council as we're moving forward throughout the fiscal year. So the last slide is really kind of the return on investment. As we mentioned before, the city pays us $37,500. What we've done is we've worked with you to get your local cash $148,000 to secure $4.2 million. And that's just for the City of Grants. Again, we're a regional organization, so we work with multiple local governments. To date, when you take all of our membership dues together, combine it, and leverage that to get $1.3 million, which is a base for our employees, salaries, and operations and overhead. We then utilize that to secure roughly $28 million this fiscal year. And that's across the board for all of our local governments. And so we still got a couple months to go. We're hoping to at least reach the 30 million mark this year. And so that last little picture on the right corner showcases what we've done with the membership dues. And as you are aware, Mayor and Donald, our dues haven't changed much in the past 5 to 10 years. And so we've been kind of making do with what we had. So in 2019, fiscal year 2019, we were at an 8-to-1 return on investment. This year, we're at a 26-to-1 2 months ago. And so we're hoping to just continue to climb. And so, of course, there's an influx of funding, but a lot of this 26-to-1 is actually the state programs that we've always worked with in the past. We're just getting better at securing these grant fundings, getting better at getting our local governments ready for these funding projects, ready, identifying competitive projects, and then working the process. And so the last slide is just our contact information. Again, our executive director is Evan Williams. My name is Brandon Howe. I'm the planning lead. I'll be hopefully out here much more in the upcoming fiscal year as we're starting to get to travel a lot more, and hopefully we can continue the partnership. I can stand for any questions.
Great. No questions?
Any questions? No. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you and your team.
Thank you.
Donald, you got something?
COG does
Yeah, I
a
was
lot of
gonna
work
say-
for us.
I was going to say, Mayor, Council, in regard to projects, because that's where I sat the last 4 or 5 years, the COG has been
Do
key
it.
in our success. I mean, because a lot of the applications they review or they create, and when we just have to proof it. I mean, there's many ways that we utilize the COG. And so as far as the bang for the buck, they're one of the best, I got to say that. So,
Yes.
anyway.
All righty, thank you.
The transit, I guess there was the gal who was going to present for the transit of Rockin' 66, I guess the name is, or is it Cara Express?
Rockin' 66.
Okay, anyway, I guess there was a family emergency, so she will provide the documentation to me tomorrow. I will forward to you guys, and we'll consider from there. Okay?
All right. Item number 5, request Economic Development Foundation funding.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Hi, hi. Bye.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. My name is Eileen Chavez Yarborough. I am the Executive Director of Cibola Communities Economic Development Foundation. We are a 501c6 organization that provides services exclusively to the City of Grants, the Village of Milan, and Cibola County. We were created in the early 1980s as Greater Grants Industrial Development Corporation to address the loss of the uranium industry mines in the early 80s. The organization was continuous until the early 90s, in which it took a hiatus, refocused, and reestablished in 1994 as Cibola Communities Economic Development Foundation. I was hired in 2011 and so during the time between 94 and 2011, Economic Development and the Chamber of Commerce came together as one entity, and the Chamber and the Economic Development were together, and there was one director that handled both. In 2009, both of the organizations decided in a parting of ways, and there was a 2-year hiatus. And in 2011, Economic Development reestablished itself as its own entity, again, still Cibola Communities Economic Development, independent of the Chamber of Commerce. I was hired in 2011, and from there on, that's where my work history begins. I was hired with the directive to recruit and attract business and industry to Cibola communities and to Cibola County. The main goal there was to grow and diversify the economic tax base and to create economic-based jobs. Economic-based jobs are jobs that have 51% or more of exports out of state, bringing new money into the state once that transaction transpires, right? So we're not circulating money. It's not government contracts. It's not service and retail. It's selling products outside of the state and bringing new money into this economy. That is to grow the tax base because, as you know, Cibola County's taxable base is only about 1/3 of our property that we have. 2/3 to 3/4 of the property in Cibola County is not taxable because it's national parks, Forest Service, tribal lands, public lands, and such. So hence the importance on diversifying and growing the economic tax base. And then finally, obviously, the main directive is to create economic-based jobs. And so I had it said to me one time that a job is a job is a job. And I don't believe that statement. I think there are jobs fit for a place in time in a person's life, but for someone to come here, raise a family, participate in the American dream by buying a home and, sending your kids to school, that's a job that requires some investment by the employer and an investment by the employee for a quality of life job. So my interest is in creating those quality of life jobs. We recruit based on the assets that we have in the county. Our competitive advantages from a recruitment and attraction standpoint are we are well situated and right on the Burlington Northern Transcontinental Railway line. We have a 900-acre industrial park that is adjacent to that line, and we fully intend to take advantage of that. We are located on a transcontinental interstate highway that goes from coast to coast. Take advantage of that. Every car passing back and forth, those are wallets that we need to get here in our town spending their money. All right? We have a community college which provides us the ability to train and skill up workforce. Very, very important. We have a critical access 25-bed hospital that a lot of counties in New Mexico don't have. We have that here in county, and it is an economic driver for our county. We have a municipal airport that has an extended runway that can accommodate emergency landings if need be, but we normally land corporate jets and on down from there. Our other advantages are our proximity to an international airport and our proximity to the largest metro in the state. All the RFPs and potential recruitment opportunities that we have coming our way, asking about our community, that's one of the first questions they ask. How close are you to the airport? Or we want you to be within 1 hour of an international airport. So we're like stretching it a little bit. You go 80, you're within 1 hour, right? But we can say, for the most part, that we're within 1 hour of an international airport. Not encouraging anybody to speed. Another competitive advantage that we have as of late is that with the new trucking mandate that truck drivers can only drive 11 hours a day, has changed the way the trucking industry operates. And right now, Gallup and Grants are situated that we're both 11/12 hours from the ports of Long Beach and LA. So we have the ability to transload off of freighters, get it on trains or trucks, and bring it inland into Gallup or Grants. And then from there, it could go through customs and such and then be railed out, instead of sitting weeks, months at the port waiting to get processed. So that
have a switch over there in Milan where you could do that?
we have a spur now. We have a master plan that will build out that siding and create the spur to have a unit train be housed there.
That's on the process.
Yes, it is. And then now, one of the latest and greatest things that I think is going to be a competitive advantage for New Mexico is that we're going to be offering free tuition to our four-year universities. No other state right now, to my knowledge, is offering that.
Yeah.
And we have been educating our people to flee. We've been educating them. We encourage them to go to a four-year university, and then we encourage them to stay in the state, but we don't have the jobs to keep them here. Now, this free tuition has the ability for us to attract the workforce, and while we're getting the workforce skilled up, trained up, educated up, hopefully we're creating those jobs for them to stay here as well.
So what are you saying to push the college here to the four-year program so people could come here
No,
more?
I'm just saying take advantage that
Yeah.
we have a community college, advertise it, and use it to the best of our ability to attract people to come here. Our community college is specific to vocations and trades and community programs that support this region, but community colleges do have the flexibility to implement programs and to pivot and accommodate new employers that may come in and need, an ISO training for metal machining or something like that, right? And so a community college can pivot quickly, put that program in place, and train our workers that need that. Say if we attracted a machining company that needed it, right? Four-year institutions don't have that ability. It takes 2 years to get the program approved, and then who knows how long to get it implemented in the system. So that is definitely a competitive advantage for Grants and Cibola County.
Is that similar to what we did with the correctional facilities?
Absolutely, yes. And I'm understanding that that the medical marijuana facility, the research and development facility, is going to want to engage the community college as well for research and development skills and training. So we've had those conversations. All right. So for Milan, what are my goals moving forward for the community, for the entities that I work for the county that we live in? One, for Milan Industrial Park, which we see is going to be the largest economic driver for the community. We can attract an anchor tenant there, get some jobs on the ground, and then support it with supply chain companies that feed into whatever it is that they're manufacturing, distributing, warehousing. That's the start of creating those economic-based jobs. For the city, it would be to get 1 or 2 more tenants to fill those 2 9 to 10 acre sites that are left in the Cibola Industrial Park.
What's left up there?
There's approximately 20 acres left in the Cibola Industrial Park.
Who's our neighbors to that?
Our neighbors are, you have the Law Enforcement Center that is owned by the county, the former guard. You have the Senior Center, and then now you also have the new headquarters of Continental Divide Cooperative.
So, and then you got Elkins, and then there's the
So there's
Acoma's own a piece of property
Elkins
up there, right?
Brewery, they do own, but they're not in the park per se.
Uh-huh.
And then the Pueblo of Acoma owns the front 2 lots that are not in the park either, but they own the front 2 lots that are the neighbors to those lots. With Continental Divide locating there now, we now have the ability to deploy fiber optics throughout the park so that when a tenant is ready to come and locate, they will have the 21st century utilities and infrastructure that they need to locate there.
You said there's 20 acres left?
Approximately 20 acres. And for the county, the goal that I have for the county is getting to cooperating with the artisans that we have in county. And we say artisans and crafters, but I'm specifically focused on the artisans, the rug weavers, the potters, the jewelry makers, the kachina doll makers, the sand painters, the rug weavers, the ones that produce value-added items because it's coming from a cultural community. And so getting with them, working with Grants Main Street on that incubator to provide a marketplace where they can actually sell their wares, providing them office space where they can either produce or have an office to do business, as we say, teaching them how to have an online store and presence to create those economic-based sales, teaching them targeted marketing on how to get those sales from out of state, in state, and teaching them how to use a point-of-sale system, like Joanne mentioned, teaching them how to be able to accept payments on their phone or their iPad or whatever item it is that they use to mark their sales and to accept those sales, teaching them how to do that. Most of these artisans, they know how to do what they do, and they do it very well. But that's probably the extent of what they know in their craft or in their art. They don't know how to market it. They don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to create a website and do all those different things. I won't say that all of them don't know how. I'm sure there's quite a few that do know how. But to comprehensively be able to put it all into place to make it work for them, to where they can create a quality of life income and create and diversify the economic tax base, that's what we're looking at, is trying to teach them how to create those economic-based sales. So as you heard from Will and Grants Main Street, we are a partner in that accelerator and incubator. At the state level, Main Street falls under the New Mexico Economic Development Department. And so we see Grants Main Street as a very viable and a competitive way to help Grants, Milan, and Cibola County get back on their feet and engage these artisans to help us create those economic-based jobs. And so in your packet in front of you, I've provided you with the completed request form that was provided to us. I gave you a very short and very brief summary of activities from 2011 all the way forward, hitting the very major highlights. Provided you the current organizational projects that we have been working on this past year, and then provided you the current goals and the activities and timelines for the current projects that we have been working on. I'll state them briefly for you. This past year, we've been working with the Grants Milan Municipal Airport. We provided $30,000 for a feasibility study for a new hangar. And while we were waiting for that to turn around, we found out through the division director, Pedro Real, and our state representative, Harry Garcia, that we were appropriated approximately $1.6 million from the aviation division with an additional, I believe, $600,000.
Last I checked, there's 2.5 total.
2.5 total, yeah. Came out to 2.2, but it's $2.5 million total for us to create the hangar and the new terminal together. Doing those two projects in one for economies of scale, saving on construction materials and construction costs, still completing the goals at hand, a new hangar and a new terminal, but still getting them on the ground with efficiencies in place. Donald has been working on the grant as to get that back to the aviation division, and once that has been completed and approved by them, I will then take that application and go to New Mexico Economic Development Department for a LEDA award. And I've been told that we will receive that LEDA award for the airport. It is a gap filler. It's not a match. So if you're getting $2.5 million, I'm saying we're probably going to get around $500,000 or something. It's subjective and discretionary, and there's not a formula, but there is money there for it to be had for this project. And what that will do is that will free up money for the vertical construction of the buildings, and the LEDA money would be used for the infrastructure, to put infrastructure in place for the hangar and the terminal. So we're really excited about that. The number 2 project there is the branding campaign for the recreation economy for rural communities. We did this social engagement. It was a grant through the Environmental Protection Agency that the former city manager received, and we had a huge portion of people participate in the community. I think the first day we had over 100 people attend, and I think we were down to 50 or 60 by the end. That's quite an amount of people who are interested and engaged in the outdoor recreation economy. And what came out of that plan was that we are surrounded by outdoor recreation assets, and if we want to diversify and grow that tax base, that would be one of the ways to do it. And so there were there was a plan put together, an action plan that came out of it, objectives with action steps under each one of them. For economic development, one of our action steps was to identify an outdoor recreation champion, i.e. try to hire somebody to lead the effort, and to work on bringing the entities together for a branding campaign, branding the entire recreational economy so that we can get print collateral and marketing and advertising out to advertise and promote who and what we are. We all each individually know what and who we are, but as a region or an economy and a recreation economy, we need to have similar branding that we can market our entire community. So that's the other.
So you said you're hiring someone to be the person to take that over?
Not necessarily take it over. They would work in tandem with economic development. Oh. The hiring
they would work for you.
We haven't made that decision who that person would work for. We just know that we have to have a champion in place, whether it be volunteer, part-time, or full-time, to help us move this initiative forward. I know Donald doesn't have the time to do it.
He doesn't?
I know I probably could find some time to do it with the many hats that I wear, but all of us are pretty stretched, and it needs its own specific focus. And so we want to make sure that we're giving it the time it's due. And so that was the intention, to identify an outdoor recreation champion. The branding campaign, I was asked to engage some consultants to see what it would take to get a branding campaign off of the ground. We got an RFP from Once a Day Marketing, Jim Glover, and he has done several communities in New Mexico, Farmington, Los Lunas are the two that come to top of my mind. But they've been very successful in their campaigns, and we have worked with the Council of Governments to reallocate funds that we received in a grant and didn't use towards this outdoor recreation branding campaign. So it's paid for, or it will be paid for, and we will move forward with implementing that branding initiative.
So branding, like Farmington, what's their brand?
Jolt Your Journey.
Jolt Your Journey? Jolt Your Journey? What's
Jolt
Gallup?
Your Journey. The venture capital of the world? I don't know. Is that it?
Venture capital of the world? You just got to pick on something with grants.
So, yeah, so the branding campaign will be much like the RERC campaign was. It'll bring stakeholders together. We'll get ideas from everybody about what we think it should be. We'll talk about all the assets that we have, and we'll try to come up with a name that will encompass all of those things. So that's quite a feat. We're trying to pull a lot of entities together and a lot of assets together to identify what that campaign would be, but that's Mr. Glover's job, and so we'll be happy to have him help us do that.
So you're-
Monumental.
It is going to be monumental.
It's a good name for it.
Number 3, we are continuing to have conversations with Burlington Northern Santa Fe and Wilson Company on getting Milan Industrial Park BNSF certified. What does that mean to you? What that means is if we're a certified site, then we have Burlington Northern marketing our site for us. And that's huge. They're the largest Class 1 railway in the United States. And if I have the largest Class 1 railway marketing my site, I think that's definitely a benefit.
Explain marketing. What would they be pushing?
Pushing companies, suppliers, anyone that they interact with to locate in our park.
Oh, because they're designated.
Because it has their designation that they put their stamp
Once
of
you put that
approval on
switch in
it
Milan.
that says, hey, this is a great park here. You would benefit by locating here because of X, Y, and Z, and that's what the certification covers.
When does that happen?
Well, we've been working on it for 3 years now, where we keep having, I guess, some challenges is identifying the entrance and exit to the park because of the at-grade crossing, trying to get traffic into the park with the train there. Should it be at that entrance, or should that one be closed and moved to another area that may be identified? Could have an exit that could be on I-40 that would give them direct access into the park. So fleshing out the costs and what all it would take to do something like that. We are at the mercy of BNSF for this particular item because they are the ones that determine where your crossings can and cannot be. And before you can open a new one, you have to close an old one. I thought it was within the community, but it's not. It's anywhere along the line, so that's great news. But just trying to identify how that will happen. And it's quite a process because a lot of times we're making estimated, we're doing things based on what we think will happen there. We could have a tenant come in that would change the whole layout of the park, but our plans are this. We can show someone that we've done the work with the Department of Transportation, with BNSF, with whoever we needed to make sure that this can happen. And if the plan interiorly changes, then we have to do so. So it's just being prepared and showing potential client that we do have the motivation to want to get someone in there, and we're going to do as much work, preparatory work as we can before they come.
And that's to get the loop in Milan Industrial Park that you were talking about a
Yeah, the
moment
unit
ago.
train loop.
And you're working with BNSF regarding that.
Correct. Regarding the entrance into the park.
Into the park.
specifically. And then number 4 would be a note to let you know that I am working with Transatlantic Business Investment Council to get the Milan Industrial Park and Cibola Industrial Park foreign direct investment certified. What that means is it's a similar certification to BNSF, only this is specific to foreign direct investment. Companies out of country are looking to come to the United States. If you have that certification, that means that that site has been cleared for them to move forward and come and start looking at your site to create those jobs. Whereas other locations without that certification, it can take anywhere from 6 months to 3 years to get to a site. Whereas if you have that certification, you're fast tracked to try and get someone in there. And then number 5, the deployment of fiber optics in the Cibola Industrial Park, we believe will take place once the headquarters is completed. That was one of our, I guess, not expectations, but hopes that if we could get Continental Divide to locate into the Cibola Industrial Park, then we would have the ability to bring fiber optics to the park. Right now, we only have dial-up, and that is not sufficient. We need 21st century infrastructure in order to compete. And so Cibola Industrial Park will have it, and Milan Industrial Park now has that fiber connectivity at the perimeter of their park as well. So those are the current projects that I've been working on, and that's the status of them and the goals that I have for them moving forward this next year. I haven't spoke much about the business retraction and recruitment efforts that I participate in. That's my main directive. I've been out on travel almost most of this spring, out on sales missions. Last week I was in Detroit and Cleveland, 6 appointments in Detroit, 7 in Cleveland. In 4 days, came back home with 5 leads. 2 of them that are particular to my community. That's huge. And so that's what I spend my time doing during the travel season. I pick trips that are specific to the industry sectors that we're trying to recruit for, and those are distribution, warehousing, logistics, based on our assets, value-added agriculture, based on our assets, forest restoration and bioindustries, based on our assets. And so when I'm out looking for businesses to come here, obviously aerospace and aviation, based on our assets. So when I choose these trips, they're all specific with those target industries in mind and those kind of companies I'm trying to attract here. And then finally, I just wanted to let you know that there are some plans here that I included. This is our implementation plan. We'll be beginning our 3rd year of this plan, of our strategic plan. This is the RFP that went out and that Mr. Glover with Once a Day Marketing responded with. And then here's a brief information on the TBIC certification and the Bnsf certification. I'd be happy to provide you more information on the recruitment and attraction missions. I will be able to provide a comprehensive report on that in June. Once I wrap up travels, I believe I have 4 more trips left, and then I'll be done for the summer, and we'll start back up again in the fall. But I want to make you aware that while during COVID we were able to conduct some of those things through virtual meetings and such, I still feel that the best way to interact with these clients, and when I talk about these people that we make, we're going straight to the source, and we're talking to people who are getting these projects, site selectors, real estate brokers, tax attorneys who deal with incentives, companies, CEOs, C-suites who are actually have engaged us and said, I want to move to your community. What do I have to do? So we're going straight to the sources where these projects are originating and asking and finding out, what is it that you need? Where do you want to go? What kind of infrastructure do you need? And trying to beat them to the punch before they let it out to the entire United States. If we can get the jump on that and get them to look here, we can be very competitive. But a lot of times, we don't even get an opportunity to be in the room unless we have that face-to-face, and you build that relationship and they know who we are. And so my request to you this year is $40,000 for the fiscal year 2023. Last year you provided $30,000, but historically when I first started with this organization, the City of Grants was funding at $64,000 annually and had 4 board members on our seat, 4 board members sitting at the table. And so at this point, I'm trying to get all 3 entities to $40,000 apiece. That way you have the same amount of representation on the board equally, 1 elected official, and 2 business members or private citizens, and then we have the ability to work equally.
We get it. What'd you say we get to get?
Well, you get 2 if you if you fund $40,000.
Oh, okay.
If it's less than $40,000,
If it's 65, we get 3.
4.
4. Oh,
It's for every $20,000, you get 1 elected official and a +1. So if you fund it 40, you get 1 elected official and 2 +1. So that's my request. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
comments? No. Thank you, ma'am, for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank
I
you.
have a question, Eileen. The other 2 partnering, it's Village of Milan and the county?
Correct.
Okay. And can you disclose how much they give you? I mean, it's open, so.
So when I very first started, I'll tell you, when I first started, city was giving 64, village was giving 44, and county was giving 40. Last year, city gave 30, village gave 25, and county gave 40. I'm just trying to get everybody to 40 so that everybody will have equal representation on the board. And I work for all 3 of you equally. Some of the assets are more prominent in other areas than other, but I try as best I can to provide the same and equal service to each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, number 7. What's other?
6.
No, 6 is the fiscal year, so that we're under contract.
Yeah, but they're here to present.
Oh, they're still here to
Yeah,
present.
they're
Oh,
here.
okay. Then Cibola Arts Council, please. Yes, you.
So the Arts Council is on contract through FY23 for how much? Or
Thank you, sir.
45,000. And again, the only reason we've invited them is because we have new council members, new manager, new mayor, so we're just trying to learn of our relations with these organizations. So I thought it'd be beneficial to hear from them also, even though they're on a 1 year. They only have 1 year left on a 4-year contract. So I don't know if you guys want to continue to do 4 years, or you want to go to year to year. We could hash that out later. But we're going to learn more about the organization today. Hello, Randy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting us here. Oh, sure. Okay. My name's Randy Collins. I'm the president of the board of the Cibola Arts Council. With me is Leslie Smith, who's our financial person and guru. We're very happy to be here, and we thank you for the opportunity to present today. As Mr. Jaramillo mentioned, we received $45,000 from the city of Grants. Bless you. And we provide back, I guess, $12,000 in rent, and we make up for the utilities as well. The packet that we've passed out here is just supposed to provide at least some pictorial analysis on the kinds of things that we do. You can see here on the front cover there the sculpture that's in our parking lot, and as well as the Arts Council on the west side of the building. And on the east side of the building is that very nice painting of that rattlesnake. Now, the one thing that we provide is the art in public places. And these are photographs, paintings, sometimes sculptures from various local artists that we hang up at the golf course, at the Pius Visitor Center, here at the Grant City Hall, the Milan City Hall. And if you want to buy the art, there you go. So we wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity there to pitch in if you wanted to help support local artists. And as you can see, there are photographs, oil paintings, watercolor paintings, photos on canvas. Now, if you go to the second page, you can see the art in public place that's at the Pius Visitor Center there. That we have there, the paintings. And Leslie, anything you want to add, just please chime in so they're not just hearing from me. Because
These ones over here at City Hall, you're charging us?
No, we're not charging at all. That's if you want to buy the art.
No, the individual pieces.
Yeah, we hang them here, and to spruce things up.
How often do you rotate them?
Unfortunately, Robert Gallegos is our executive director, and he is gotten sick this year, and so he takes care of all of this. I work their financials like 1 day a week, so I don't know all of the ins and outs of it. I do know. I mean, I've seen him and some of the employees go out and to exchange the art. I do know that, like El Maipalis Visitor Center likes that art that they have there because it depicts the local area. They may want to keep it there unless it gets sold. So
You guys advertise it on Facebook. This is where it's located. Sale.
yes, and we have a website, and this whole list is on the website that to let other people know where they can go and look at any of this art that's in any of the if they can get into the buildings.
Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, at least, when Robert was of better health, and he's just recently taken ill, and we're hoping that he gets back, that he comes back, because he's really been an inspiration for our organization. He himself is a sculptor. Other than me, most of the people that participate in the organization know art. I can do stick figures, and I appreciate art, but I'm not an artist. But Robert was, I think, moving things sometime between 2 and 4 times a year, depending on what individual places wanted. As Ms. Smith pointed out, the Malpai Center likes the art that's hanging there, but some other places wanted the art to move around a bit more. Moving along, if you go to the next page, you can see the interior shots of the art gallery. We have displays that change, maybe half dozen times a year at least. We have an area that is solely devoted to student artwork, and you can see at the top left-hand side some of that student artwork, that painting of a horse with mesa behind it. To the right, you have an interior shot of the art gallery, which shows the pottery that's on display, as well as sculptures and the paintings in the background. This is part of various art shows that we have. For the last 15 years, we've had an art show where painters, primarily painters, sometimes sculptors, will do various renditions of Mount Taylor, for example. We call it the Mount Taylor Art Show. Every year for the last several years, we've had a miniature art show, which is small paintings, small sculptures, things like that. We have a number of art shows for children, and we try to reach out to the schools as much as we can. We've had art competitions that have been based more or less on I don't know if you're familiar with the science competition that the state holds annually. We were trying, and we are trying, to work that up for an art competition with students. The standards obviously are a little bit different between art and science, but the idea is to try to get students interested in art. In addition to art, we also have a museum that's attached to the art gallery, and in the museum itself, we've had displays on the history of Cibola County, on the logging and mining, for example, that went on here, the fluorspar mining that went on here, and we have some photos here of those exhibits. Right now, currently, we have the historical Route 66 show, where it's we've got an antique car from the area, as well as various kinds of postcards and writings, so that you can see what kinds of things went on. One of the reasons, for example, that we have a rattlesnake painted on the side of the art gallery is there used to be a rattlesnake exhibit on Route 66. People driving through on Route 66 would stop, I guess, and take a look at the rattlesnakes. But in any case, we had a painter memorialize that on the east side of our building. You can see on this page, pardon me, on the Route 66, the summer art camp that we run. We're going to have a summer art camp this year. It's students, And they're going to participate in various activities, such as making Christmas decorations, Easter eggs, as well as baskets and paintings. And Mr. Gilbert Wakanda, who is a volunteer and sometimes part-time person with us, he's the one who conducts the art camp. One of the things that we've done recently is the Eco Wall. We have a sculpture garden that is associated with the art gallery. The sculpture garden's been there, 4 years maybe? Yeah. But the Eco Wall we took actually, plastic bottles. And into those plastic bottles, we shoved trash, basically, to make the plastic bottles as secure as possible. We lined the bottles up, right, and we built a wall out of them. In actuality, I have a niece who was in Guatemala with the Peace Corps, and they were building schools using this type of construction. And this was our effort to show how we might be able to use recycled material for art. In addition to which, and building on that theme, I know you've probably seen driving up and down the road those satellite dishes that are painted as baskets. That's another effort at recycling, all right? Those satellite dishes used to be used, I think, by Comcast, and now what we've done, working in conjunction with Sacred Winds, what we've done is we've painted baskets on them, Native American baskets. Yes, sir? Yeah, well, actually, right now, Sacred Winds is in the process of redoing them. And instead, what we had done in the past is put it on a kind of canvas material and then put that on the satellite dish. But now what we've decided to do instead is paint directly on the satellite dish using, I think, automotive paint. So, yeah.
Yeah, he has been.
Yeah.
He's done 2 of them so far. We have the 3rd one.
They already painted 2 of them?
Yeah, the one at the mining museum has been painted and it's back up. The one at the Arts Council, that's hand painted. That one also. And another one that's scheduled to be. And so,
Turn to that page, you'll see it. You see it there. And it also gives a shot of the sculpture garden and the labyrinth that's in the sculpture garden. You won't get lost in that labyrinth. You can see over it rather easily.
So are those baskets being done one at a time? Because I noticed one doesn't have.
Right, they were, the Sacred Winds contracted with a gentleman, Mr. Brown, to remove the dishes, take them to Mr. Skeet, he paints them, and then Mr. Brown reinstalls them. So, and so they're done, yes, one at a time. It's painstaking for some of them. There's a white, red, and blue basket on the park here in front of the caboose. That one has been repainted. And I think that was the first one he did. I said, that's probably smart because it has big blocks of color. So it makes it easier than all this little intricate stuff.
We try to have, as much as we can, a significant connection with the Native American communities that are here. You can see on there the events we've had. We had Laguna Eagle dances and drummers from the Laguna Acoma High School. We had the Buffalo dancers who came in from the Pueblo of Jemez. We had the individual Marlon Magdalena who came in and was a Native American flute playing. We also have quite a few baskets and pottery and paintings from our Native American communities as well. During the COVID period, we didn't just sit back and do nothing. I mean, so much of what we do really requires, or at least there's a strong preference for individuals to come into the museum and such. But for quite a while, we were under restrictions, as we all well know. And so what we did instead was we ran programs through Zoom or the internet. We ran one on belt weaving from Mr. Harvey Thomas Jr. We had another one from an Acoma member, Mr. Joseph Lewis, who gave a demonstration on his modern art, as well as Marvin Fernando, who provided a detailed history of Hopi yucca basket making. And we were fortunate to have the work of Mr. Michael Webb, who was very instrumental in being able to showcase these things through Zoom. So we were attempting to reach out even during the time of restrictions. Other events that we have are reading and book signing events, actually for our local authors. I mentioned previously the annual Mount Taylor Show. We're in our 15th year. We have a classic film series where we attempt to show films of some historical significance, maybe.
Filmed here in New Mexico.
Exactly, filmed here in New Mexico. I'm trying to remember Barbara Stanwyck, I believe, her film, well, one of her films in any case. We have a student-prized art contest, and then we regularly do artists in residence. In other words, we'll send out a call for artists to come in and show their new paintings, that their new work that they've done. We do this a few times a year. And what's really surprising is because, look, we got 29,000 people in the county, but what's really surprising is the great variety of art, whether it's sculpture, whether it's modern painting, whether it's plein air, outdoor painting, metalwork. There is quite a variety of art here. And as I think about it, and I think others might know this probably better than I do, but you have Maslow, who came up with his hierarchical needs, where obviously food, clothing, and shelter is a basic need. What art really provides for us, I think, is something that says what things mean. It shows the beauty that is all around us, whether you're looking at representations of Mount Taylor or the modern sculpture that we have in our sculpture garden that's right next door. As I said, we intend to run our student art camp this year. The dream catchers, egg painting, Christmas ornaments that will be made. There's the miniature art exhibit this fall. Towards the end, we have the profit and loss statement, which is a summary of that. You'll see that we depend primarily on the funds that we get from the City of Grants, as well as a grant that we get from the New Mexico Art Group, and some funds, obviously, from the lodger's tax. We're happy to take any questions. Yeah.
Where's your income?
Is that membership dues and sales?
Yeah.
I mean, you let everybody in for free?
Yeah.
Yes, everything's free.
Yeah.
We are not 501c3.
I mean, but it's the same thing going to like Roswell and all these museums. They pay like $5. You have to earn income. You can't rely on the city for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like you guys, how many visitors do you guys get in a year?
Oh, probably about 2,000, sometimes a little bit more. It's been a little less lately because of the pandemic.
So there you go. So there's $10,000. You guys would be earning $5.
I hear what you're saying. The one thing we don't want to do is discourage people from participating in the arts.
But you, everything's not for free. I mean, you guys have to charge. You guys can't be relying on the city for $40,000 every single year to show your art. I've been there. I like it. It's nice. You guys got to start earning money. $5 a person, $10,000. Start again with another $10,000. People will pay. People get discouraged when it's free. They're not coming. If they're doing it for free, it's probably not worth going.
So we used to charge for, I hear your point, we used to charge for some of the events that we had, musicians who would come in, and we would charge for those events, and we made some money off of that, but I think your suggestion is a good one.
Yeah, because I honestly, $40,000 a year, I mean, I better see some return on that, where you see return on Evan showing what we pay and Eileen on what we're getting. I mean, there's no payout on you guys.
It's $48,750
Because you're even getting lodger's tax. And
Right.
I understand that one, because you guys are holding events, but
5,000.
and lodger's tax.
I'm
And
gonna-
only $2,734 from the New Mexico Arts Council. then income produced by the entity is really only $1,200 for the whole year, and that's hard
Basically,
to
you're on
see.
Route 66 and you're not creating any city of Gants any income.
Well, we do think or feel that one of the reasons why people decide to stay here would be the art museum.
Okay, we'll charge.
Yeah. No, I'm not debating that. I mean, I'm not disputing that. I'm just
If
saying.
they're coming because of you, they're coming for a reason. You
Yeah.
guys need to charge.
Yeah.
Because every year, I mean, next year, we might not give you 40,000.
And if sales are only $1,000, what are the artists aren't making
Last year,
anything?
yeah, we were shut down. We
And-
couldn't, it's hard to get sales
Mhm.
when people can't come in. So,
I understand pre-COVID, but I mean, we live in a different time. You're going to start to attract people off of I-40. What are they going to have? Your signage. I mean, no one knows you're there. I mean, I would say I've been looking for your Facebook marketing, your website. You guys don't do yourselves justice on trying to bring people in. I say it needs to improve. 40,000, it's like we're giving you a gift.
The current display, the Route 66, that has been there for how long?
that's, it's going to be the permanent display in the museum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So because
That's at least what my understanding.
I think when I first saw it, I think it was more than 4 years ago, and I was under the understanding again that it's temporary, that this is a show that the museum is holding that will move on, and of course our curator, manager, person who runs the museum would bring in another show.
Yeah. That's what we did with the logging and the floor spar, and like I say, I'm only there 1 day a week. I don't know exactly what they're, but it was my understanding that this was going to stay, because they were going to paint the floor, put Route 66, on the floor going from LA to Chicago, to make that.
Do you have a list of traffic that comes in there, and do they do field trips, like, do the elementary schools go there?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, they do. And yes, we do keep a list.
They used to do a kids' art show every year, right prior, I think it was to the Malpai event, but that was pretty cool. And the Route 66 exhibit is amazing and very much worth seeing. We need our gallery, but I'm in agreement with the mayor that it needs to produce, because we're
You
the
help
sole
yourself.
funding, basically, other than $7,734. So.
And an FYI, we are, financials are on a cash basis. So the reason why the city shows more is because your cash for the prior year didn't come in until July of 2020. So that's why it's a little bit over 40.
Any more questions?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Discussing items number 7. Request other. What?
That was just in case there was someone else. Beverly, you had mentioned another entity that's interested, so if they could get me the information as soon as possible, I'd appreciate that. So again, this is all informational. The Arts Council is the only one that's on contract for FY23. However, just like any other contract, I mean, with notice, any contract could expire. Not that we want to do that with that one, but I mean, it is a contract. So I just wanted you guys to make aware, and then in June, we will put these before you guys. Not in June. Yeah, in June, we'll put this before you guys. If you guys approve the amount, then we'll include in the final budget for FY23. So each one of these will come before you guys as a single entity with a specific amount, and you guys will vote in June
In June, yeah.
on these organizations.
All righty, sir.
Can we look at that contract?
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
The contract with the Cibola Arts Council?
Yeah, I've got a copy here, actually. I can make you a copy.
Okay.
And that's some of the confusion there, or not really confusion, but as Miss Smith, Leslie Smith, okay, make sure I got that last name correctly, as she stated that Mr. Gallegos has been key in developing the program, and obviously he's been ill, so I mean, I've seen him a couple times in here, but he's always been, his health was challenging, so his time here was limited. So there's there's been a little stall, I believe, on their end just because Mr. Gallegos has been ill.
Oh, yeah. No, the Cibola Art Council, it's neat. Art's cool. I do a lot of art. My son does a lot of art. I'm all for it, but just see how we can create a little bit of revenue on their side. I don't know, but it's something attractive to Route 66. It's really neat. We're just going to see how we can attract more people off the freeway to come check it out. We need to create some revenue. You can. It's easy.
It does seem marketable.
There's a lot of people in this world, and that's cool stuff to see, and they'll pay. All right, comments from the council.
I have none.
Nothing? I really don't have anything either, but thank you, everybody, and okay, we will adjourn this meeting at 4:45. Thank you all.